So, Jenna, when you take on a role and you become this character, how much of yourself, if any, do you sink into that character that you are playing?
It's a funny chicken and the egg, I think, because obviously I'm the one playing it. So there's not like blank slate, but you are creating a character as their own person. I don't think too much about how much I have of myself. I try to just be a person. And which person is that character with those experiences, thinking those thoughts. And there's different, schools of thought in terms of acting and such, where you can be thinking about your laundry in the scene. And if you have a distaste about the laundry, you can transfer that emotion into that person because it's a similar essence. I find that a little bit like schizo for myself. I just prefer to really, really understand the story and really understand as much as I can about this character in terms of what the writers are presenting, what the goals of the producers, in terms of the long game, whatever information I can gather. And then in terms of like personal things, like let's say June and the loss of her daughter, Rose, what the loss of a child? As a mother, I know what the love is, and that's the heartbreak. I don't put myself like in that scene at the cabin. I'm sitting with John in the episode Laura, and I turn to him and say, I lost my daughter. I don't have any concept of like, oh, I lost my actual child, or like some dubbing in of emotions. I just understand the love of that as a mother. And I can bring that depth of holy shit, what that would, the loss. But I didn't play the loss, I played the love, because the love I really understand, or the lioness that comes out. As a mother, Rachel, you would really understand that.
Definitely.
But yeah, I just try and really be a person. Of course, in Fear and in the Walking Dead universe, there's this like greater mythology that defines the genre, which is a stroke of paint color that's extra for me anyway, when I'm creating the character or going through these scenes. But you just try and find the truth of those moments, when they're sort of heightened or whatever into the mythology, because all of you, the fans, already are in a belief system of the mythology. So you don't have to play any of that. You just have to play the truth of that human being, because in the end, I want to create an emotional impact upon the audience and make the viewer feel emotions they've maybe never felt, or tap into emotions they have that they hadn't, or have them think new thoughts as a result of having this emotional feeling that leads them into a new creative breath in their own life in some way, shape, or form. That's what I enjoy about acting, is creating that emotional impact and having people relate and find their own humanity in what I'm doing with my character. And we connect our humanities and go on a journey together. And that's what I love doing. So I always try and find ways to connect as much to human truth and that empathy of understanding what someone's going through, and the fun of inventing nuances about it. And there's so much with these scripts that's not on the page per se, but you have to understand all of the connective tissue of what you guys always talk about. It's an understanding of that in a scene. It makes it where there's like a gajillion ways to play a scene. All would be appropriate, but you also have to kind of go, well, there's a greater mythology here about, say, help, with like how John Dory helped Morgan helped, there's like a connective pay it forward of help. That's a theme. That's what it is for me, is not so much about how much of me is in it, just understanding that human being that I'm portraying and making them a person.
That completely makes sense. And where, when you have the opportunity to have a connection with the character, it probably helps. I dislike this as well, so it's going to be easy for me to display that.
It's also fun though. You get to live things you have never lived yet. You get to have experiences you always dreamed about, but it's not really what's in your life. And you get to like live these lives. You get to live multiple lifetimes kind of in one lifetime as an actor. And I find that really fun.
I mean, it's kind of the same as a fan, because as a fan, you can enjoy watching things that you would never enjoy watching in real life.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Who wants to live through a zombie apocalypse? Not me.
The satisfaction of putting a bullet through Virginia's brain. I would never want to watch in real life.
No.
Which is funny because...
Nor would I want to do in real life.
Because isn't that the thing too? Because like you're describing, our quote unquote good guys can break bad, and then our bad guys can quote unquote be good or understandable. And so that's kind of what makes what you're saying all the better and all the richer. And I think that is in some ways a byproduct of Fear the Walking Dead too, in particular. Like, really harness the homogeneity of the anti-hero or anti-villain, or what I call the anti-villain. They're not that bad. So
Well, everybody's bad sometimes. I think that's what having zombies and the walkers, it keeps the environment so dangerous. When people get stressed out, who do they become? We've all seen variations on a theme over the last year and a half of humanity and within our own families and circles of friends, how people react when they're under these stresses. And do they kind of become the superhero that can lift the car off of the person? Do they kind of turn selfish? What's the range and dynamics of their willingness to help and be of service? I think that's a fun exploration of humanity. And I think everybody has all of those moments. Sometimes you can rise up, sometimes you want to, and you can't because there's just some other force at work. And it's fun to explore all of those shape-shifting moments of high-stakes survival.
Oh my God, stop. I'm so embarrassed for you right now.